Let's try this one more time. Please welcome to the stage, Britt Baker. Head on up. There you go. That's more like it. There's a microphone for you.
Thanks, guys. What's up?
Not too much. It's always nice to have you back.
Hey, I'm happy to be back. It was a long time. I was away. That was the most I've ever been away from wrestling at one time. It was 10 months.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, well, if you don't mind, I got some questions for you. They got some questions for you. We're just going to hang out for a bit. Cool?
Let's just hang out. Let's hang out. It's great.
So I know you hear this a lot, but obviously your character blends dentistry, your real-life career as a dentist. How did you even come up with an idea that unique?
Well, because I'm a dentist in real life, and that's all there is to that. So next question.
Oh, there's more to it than that. How did wrestling, what came first, the chicken or the egg, the dentistry or the wrestling?
Literally the exact same time. When I started to train to become a professional wrestler on the indies is when I was starting dental school right here in the University of Pittsburgh, School of Dental Medicine, right? And I decided right then and there that I was going to be both a dentist and a wrestler, and no one was going to make me choose one or the other because I said so. And that's, I really stuck to my guns, and that's why you call me Dr. Britt Baker, DMD now.
So how much time do you devote from one to the other? How do you balance up percentage-wise?
So I think over the years, the percentage-wise has definitely changed. It's been a teeter-totter back and forth. Right now, I'm definitely more so dedicated to wrestling just because the dentistry, I love the fans. I love all of you. But some wrestling fans got a little intense with coming to the dental office and scaring my staff, terrifying my staff is the better word. And it was just kind of hard to find the professionalism and how to balance that because here at Pitt, they didn't teach you how to handle your fans coming into your dental office. That's something I had to figure out on my own.
So you still have an office then, I take it?
Right, yeah, I do. There's another dentist there. It's not my office. I worked for another dentist, but there's another dentist there that is fantastic, but I still see my patients, my OG ride or dies. They won't see anyone else, so I always go back in to see them if they have any issues, emergencies, or checkups, stuff like that.
So how in your mind do you separate things? I know like maybe where you're doing some dentistry work. Does any of the wrestling ever filter into your mind? Like,
no, never.
Nice.
It actually makes me really uncomfortable when I'm in the dental office and fans want to talk about wrestling. Because for me, it's like, I separate the two. And if anything, dentistry kind of keeps me humble. Because there's people that don't know that I'm a wrestler. And for example, my manager, my secretary, they don't care that I'm a wrestler. They're like, hey, get to this room, get to that room, get upstairs, sign this script. They boss me all over the place. They don't care. And I like that. That, like I said, keeps me humble.
That's nice. So it's a nice balance.
Exactly.
So has your style of wrestling changed over the course of your career from the beginning to the end? Have you changed anything up or learned anything working with other wrestlers?
Yeah, I think any wrestler would be lying if they said they didn't change their style, if they didn't learn things or learn what their strengths and weaknesses are, learn what to do, learn what to not do. And if anything, like TV wrestling is so much different than wrestling on the indies, on the independent scene. TV wrestling is a whole other animal. You have the live television factor. You have the referee giving you the cues from the back. You have commercial breaks. On top of that, you have a live audience you're trying to entertain too. So there's a lot more than just the moves. A lot of people think that, wrestling is moves and that's that. It's not it. We're telling a story at the end of the day. Most of the time, it's the story of good versus evil, and the wrestling moves come after that. What's the story you want to tell, and how can we incorporate the moves into telling that story?
So I got to ask you, do other wrestlers ask you dental advice? Like when you're wrestling, I got this, sensitivity to heat and cold. Do they ever ask you about any of your dentistry work, other wrestlers?
Yeah, all the time. Anytime there's like a dental emergency at AEW, the medical team calls me into the office to see, or into the trainer's room to see like what I would recommend.
It's pretty awesome.
I know. I said I should be paid more for that. I'm like the on-call AEW dentist in a way, right? I should get a little more a bump in my paycheck.
So you've had a lot of great matches. Is there any in particular that are more memorable than others? And any kind of experience that you think like was a really rewarding and challenging with any specific wrestler or any specific match?
Yeah, that's tough, and there's a few. I don't think there's any one match that makes or breaks your career or defines you. With that being said, I definitely think the Lights Out match with Thunder Rosa took my career to new heights, to a new level. It put me on the map for a lot of people that didn't know who I was, and it put AEW on the map for a lot of people. In terms of matches that was special to me, the first Pittsburgh AEW Rampage, where I was the main event, I got to defend the title here. That was so special with all the terrible towels in the crowd and just being here, being home. And when I got to wrestle at Penn State, most recently, when was that? September, I think. September, November. It was in the fall, but that was really cool too because I graduated from Penn State. I got to wrestle Chris Statlander, who's one of my favorite opponents, and I hope there's many more to come with her.
So women's wrestling has really evolved over the years. What changes do you think you would like to see in the future with women's wrestling?
I think more of the same changes that we're seeing now. It's just equality, that women's wrestling isn't such a marquee act or such a special event, that it's just another match on the show, just like a men's wrestling match, that if the women are the main event for the night, cool, it's just another night of wrestling. It's not this big like wow factor. The women get to main event tonight. It should be treated just like the men. It's not a women's main event, it's a main event, period.
I got to ask you, what was it like getting in the ring for the first time?
Oh man, it wasn't too far from here actually. It was in White Oak, Pennsylvania, if any of you are familiar with that. I would say it was probably not a very good match, and I didn't sleep for 2 days ahead of time because I was so terrified, so nervous to wrestle in front of like 50 fans. You can't anticipate or say enough things about your first wrestling matches because you know what's coming, you know what to expect. You even plan your match out at that point, but you're shitting your pants. You're so nervous because it's your first time in front of a live audience. You can practice and train in the ring as much as you want, but nothing prepares you for a live audience. And the only way you get better in front of a live audience is more reps with the audience. So thinking back on that, it was really special. It was a mixed tag match, and I'm eternally grateful for my time in Pittsburgh and the independent wrestling scene in Pittsburgh. And I encourage all you guys, if you are able to get to any of the shows in the Pittsburgh area, like support the indie wrestlers because they are the future. They are your next television wrestlers.
Did you watch much wrestling growing up? Did you?
Yeah, I definitely on and off. And I wouldn't say I got like serious die-hard fan until I was in high school and college. And when I was going to Penn State, me and my friends, we would buy the pay-per-views, and I would sell my textbooks to go to the WWE shows that were in Pittsburgh so I could sit on the floor. And even when I was in dental school, I was sitting in the back row. Instead of paying attention to the PowerPoint presentation on the board, I was watching Raw or SmackDown from the week before on my laptop in the back row, which I don't recommend, but I just loved wrestling and I loved watching it. And especially once I got to learn, it's a blessing and a curse when you get to learn the ins and outs of pro wrestling once you get to pull the curtain back a little bit, because then you can't ever put the curtain forward again. But then it unlocked so many new things in my brain of the storytelling and how things are done. And once I started learning those things, when I started training, I couldn't stop watching wrestling because I was looking for everything.
We're going to get to questions for you guys in a bit. I just have one more. Who were your mentors or inspirations that you think really helped you as a wrestler?
Oh, man, I've had so many. In AEW, definitely Chris Jericho, huge inspiration to me, huge mentor, even to this day. Kenny Omega helped me early on, Cody Rhodes. They were all super instrumental in helping my original heel turn, in developing the DMD character, and just helping me get comfortable with like who I am as a villain. And it's really hard. it's not natural to want to say things to get people to not like you. You have to like flip a switch in your brain. It's like, it's okay. This is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be unlikable. It's not normal. But they really helped me with that. And just with speaking and cutting promos and finding the camera, stuff like that. That was all super helpful with those three.
Well, let's get some questions from you guys. Raise your hand. We'll come around. Any on this side? There you go. We'll start there. Give me time to get off the stage and get into the audience.
All right. My question is, my cousin Mike, he's getting into the wrestling circuit himself up in the Rochester area. So I'd really like to get a perspective from you because he also is trying to go the whole bad guy route. Some words of encouragement that I could bring back to him.
And you said he's a wrestler trying to go the bad guy route?
Yeah, he just actually is starting to get noticed on, he's part of Excite. I'm not sure if you've heard about them. They're a little indie circuit up in Rochester. But yeah, he's trying to be the bad guy, the audience booing style, but he's been doing great.
Yeah, I think it's very quickly learn how to be comfortable with feeling uncomfortable, to not be afraid to be booed, to not be afraid to be disliked, especially on the indies. That's tough because, you know, you want to make money, you want to sell merch, you want the fans to react to you, and is hard as it might sound, it's difficult to get the fans to aggressively boo you or aggressively cheer you one way or the other. But if you can get that nuclear reaction one way or another, promoters are going to book you. They know that you're a must-see talent. They know the fans want to see you. And at the end of the day, the job for the bad guy, the job for the heel, is to make the baby face look good. So if you can make the other person in the ring look great, look like a superhero, then you're doing your job.
Question right here.
When you made the decision to make wrestling your career, how did your family react to that decision? Were there any family members that disagreed with it? Did anyone threaten violence against you? Did anyone, just reacted very poorly to that decision?
Threaten violence? No, I'm safe.
Thank you.
I am safe in my home. No, my parents, especially my mother, was not thrilled by any means because I was already accepted into dental school. It's guaranteed success. And of course, with pro wrestling, the first thing that comes to any parent's mind is you could get hurt. You could get really badly hurt. Who are these people you're training with? Where are you going? Where are you driving? Why are you there were so many questions that it's really hard to explain to a parent who doesn't have that same passion that you do. Fast forward now, my parents are like, they scare me when they're in the front row because I never know what they're gonna do. They're talking shit to Soraya in Pittsburgh. They're waving terrible towels in Tony Storm's face. They are so out of control, and they are my number one fans, ride or die. That initial conversation was tough, but it just took time for them to understand that this is my passion too, just as much as dentistry, and my family supports me. So that's all it took was couple tough conversations and for them to understand and accept it, and now I love that I get to fly my family all over the world to watch me wrestle.
That's great. Question right back here.
Is there a move that when you first started that you were a little shaky about, but now you can do it in your sleep?
All of them. All of the moves. Yeah, wrestling's hard. It's very unnatural to even fall down. That's not, your body does not want you to fall down. You want to catch yourself. You don't want to just attack the mat. I think what was hardest for me was just to have confidence in the ring. And that might be difficult. You might not believe it now, but I was always nervous. I was always second guessing myself. I was always thinking, what do I need to do next? I very rarely focused on the crowd or the camera or anything like that. I was just so nervous that I didn't have any capacity in my brain to think about anything else. So more so than any particular move, it was just having confidence in the ring, being able to walk the walk and talk the talk. That's tough, and it takes a lot of time to learn that and to be comfortable with that in pro wrestling.
And question on the far end.
It's more difficult for you, dental school or wrestling training?
Doing both of them at the same time. That was the hard. No, it's so hard to answer that because at different times, different ones, one was harder than the other. When I had to study for boards and my clinical boards and my written boards, that was so hard because you're supposed to be studying every waking hour of the day for months. But for me, I also had to train and to go to the gym and to watch matches and to go to indie shows and set up the ring. And I had a million other things that most dental students didn't have to do. With that being said, when I'm on the road for these independent wrestling shows, I have my flashcards with me at all times that I can study for my exam, study for my board, study for my tests. So it was juggling them both at the same time. That was probably the hardest period of my life, as far as I really had to just put my head down and stay focused, because if I started questioning it too much, I think I probably would have gave up.
I got to ask, how long was dental school? How long were you in dental school?
So I did 4 years of undergrad at Penn State and then 4 years here at Pitt. So 8 years total.
All right, next question. Right here.
Well, Brett, now if your current feud with Mercedes Monet, she has she has Carmella Brickhouse. Do you see that at one point you may get like an equalizer to kind of counter, Mercedes and Brickhouse together?
I don't know. I would like to think that at the end of the day, I don't need help, because I am Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. I'm not one to mess around with. If the time comes, then absolutely. I mean, we have a pretty deep roster of girls, and I know a lot of girls that have a lot of personal issues with Mercedes as well. One off the top of my head, who I haven't necessarily gotten along with, is Soraya. Soraya and Mercedes, that goes, they definitely have some history there, and that's something that's interesting to explore. But I'm not going to sit here and name one name or the other, just because I'm hoping it doesn't come down to that. I don't want to defeat Mercedes with the help of anyone. I want Britt Baker defeated Mercedes, period, and that's the sentence.
Way in the back, we have a question.
Okay. Do you prefer to play the heel, or do you prefer to play the baby face? And which do you think is easier to pull off?
I think I'm definitely more comfortable being a heel. I have a lot of fun being the heel. I think it's in some ways a lost art, just because people are entertained by the villains. The villains are cool these days, and that's not just in wrestling. That's in movies, TV, comics, everything. People like the bad guys, but to really dig deep and figure out how can I really get under everyone's skin today? How can I really piss people off? That's a lot of fun. I'm not gonna lie. I really enjoy doing that, and you really, the opportunities are endless when it comes to just making people mad. It's a lot harder to keep people happy in today's day and age, and I don't say that I don't like a challenge. I definitely like a challenge, but I'd rather piss people off. I'm pretty good at it too.
All right. Any other questions here? Right over there? Where? Behind me? Oh, you.
A lot of wrestlers have moved on into the movies and stuff. Or you think you're there yet to maybe go into movies, or you want to establish yourself more as a wrestler, bigger name, then maybe jump into movies?
I would like to do both. I think you can, by branching out into more mainstream media opportunities, you make yourself a bigger name in the wrestling world. And I think you learn valuable skill sets doing movies, television, acting. Because at the end of the day, wrestling it's acting as much as it is the athleticism and the moveset. I think you can really take a lot of that experience and apply it into your in-ring work, into your in-ring character. There really hasn't been a female that has branched out as a primary star in the mainstream media. There's been little opportunities here and there for the female wrestlers, but yeah, I would love to have more opportunities with film and television.
Okay, we have any more questions? Oh, of course, way in the back. Yeah,
They're making you work.
that's all right. Right in the parking space. You changed your mind. You got a question whether you like it or not.
So most wrestlers have like fun stories about being on the road or with other wrestlers. Do you have any of those?
I'm trying to not get in trouble today. So let me think of a clean one. I mean, just being on the road in general, it's fun. You really, that's where you learn a lot about the people you're working with, more so than when you're in the ring with them. Because when you're at work, you're there to do a job. But when you get to have some spare time and some free time, I mean, that's when it's fun. I would tell you, myself, Reba, and Tony Schiavone have had some really fun times and some great memories. And those are two people who have helped my career more, just as much as like I said before, Jericho, Kenny, and Cody did, because they helped develop the DMD character. But myself, Rebel, and Tony Schiavone, because our chemistry on camera was so good because of the chemistry we have off camera. We had a lot of fun times, a lot of goofy memories, a lot of espresso martinis, and I'll just leave it at that.
All right, and I just have one last question. I mean, obviously, multitasking, dentistry, wrestling. Do you have free time, and what do you enjoy to do in free time, if you have any?
Nothing. When I have free time, I like to sit on the couch and binge watch a TV show if I have time, or watch a movie, or drive to the beach and do absolutely nothing, or read a book. There's like a lost art into just having time for yourself and doing nothing but enjoying that time by yourself. And I love that. And as much as I love people, I love my friends, I love my family, when I get alone time, the older I get, the more I really, really cherish that. So if you guys have any good TV shows, let me know. I have some time coming up. I'll definitely be binge watching.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming out and doing this.
Thank you,
Hometown
guys.
girl, Britt Baker. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.